Well, look who's back. It's J-Mac here, wanting to get back into the blog. There's lots of barbecue discussions to be documented still, so I'm hopping back on the horse. I know I've been absent for a while, but I looked at the last time we've posted, and that was way back in October last year. Part 2 of King of the Mountain now. Card up there if you want to watch that, part 1 and 2. Otherwise, we haven't done an interview for quite some time, but I got great news. If you're watching this, that means you're interested in more barbecue discussions and content. So we have a new concept that I'm playing with, which is Ask Me Anything, barbecue related, of course. So if you've got any questions out there that are related to comp barbecue, backyard barbecue, commercial barbecue, I don't know everything, but I've got an opinion about everything. So go ahead and put your question right down there in the comments, and then I will do my best to fit it in the next episode. So I did get a question about injections from David, and I wanted to just answer that as part of the introduction to this new concept of mine, Ask Me Anything. So look, we use injections primarily in comp barbecue. We don't waste our time doing them in commercial because it's just not economically scalable. There's commercial realities that we have to adhere to with commercial barbecue. We're trying to be efficient, and it would be quite expensive to add injections to everything. It would be very time consuming at a minimum. Of course, there are commercial operations like Hutton's where they brine and they do inject. I used to work for Hutton's, and we used to do the Christmas hams, and they would have a big machine that just come down and it would just be pumping in injection. But that was more sort of the flavouring side rather than the phosphate side. Obviously in comp barbecue we're always chasing the ultimate one bite experience, and so we put as much additives flavour wise and anything else that we can add to make it more desirable for judges, and that's where we put things like phosphates in. And what the phosphate basically does is add look, it's not adding anything that wasn't already in there, we're just putting it back, or putting it back in a higher concentration. And what it does is it alters the pH to be able to help the moisture to cling on to the protein structure itself. So that's the idea of it. I also use injections a lot to add flavour. In fact, I'm a big believer that injections, they add, I think they're the most undervalued part of comp barbecue. And what I mean by that is everybody knows we chase taste and texture, but injections have a massive effect on both taste and texture, particularly around altering the bite texture that you get of the ultimate bite at the end of it, the product. I've talked at length with Brendan about this, and look, these days I can tell you right now I'm putting way more injection in than I used to. When I started, I did a lot of injection in my comp barbecue, and then I tapered back a little bit when we were taking it too far, and now I'm back to sort of putting more in it, but sort of a weaker concentrate, but more of it. We cooked a pig recently, and if you follow us on Instagram, you would have seen photos of that, and man, I couldn't believe how much injection that took. I mean, we put 4 litres of injection into a pig that was 36 kilograms, so by the time it was done, it was an extra 4 kilograms heavier. I know in the US they'll put like 2 gallons of injection into their whole hogs when they cook them. So that's how we use injections, just both from a pH altering point of view, a moisture point of view, and from a flavour point of view. I try to put a lot of, I'll put a good amount of flavour, but I try not to put too much sugar in my injections. I think some people get carried away with apple juice and things like that adds too much sugar to the mix. I wouldn't muck around with it at home. I think it's a waste of time in terms of okay, if you wanted to cook the ultimate for your family, go for it. But I just don't think that when you're in the at home where you're in the context of eating a meal, you don't really have to worry about the one bite impact that we're chasing in comp barbecue. So that would be my advice around injections. Look, if I was giving advice to start out, I would say start with Butcher Barbecue. The guys at Butcher Barbecue do a great product. I actually met them at the Houston Livestock Show in 2019. Great guys, David and his brothers. And they, look, I reckon they're still one of the best injections, and I could tell you that I use some of their injections in my comp recipes. We just won Battle of the Barbecue, and Butcher Barbecue played a role in that. Anyway, so I'd just say have a play with that. Don't give too much credence to what it says on the back. I'd go about half the dosage that it recommends, and always use a magic blender, like a bullet blender, or whatever they call them, the bullet blenders. Use one of those to really get it blended up through the water or composition of the liquid, to make sure that you're going to get a nice and consistent outcome in terms of the injection spreading. And then I like to use a very, very fine needle, like a pink needle. I forget what gauge it is, 18 I want to guess. Or maybe it's 12, I don't remember. It's a pink one. They cut the needle tips come in different grades. Pink's about the thinnest you can go before you can no longer push the injection in there. And the reason I use a very fine needle is because it won't leave big puncture holes in the product. So it's just a very fine insertion, and just as you push the injection down, as you push it in, just pull your needle out a bit. And I like a nice 1 by 1 inch grid straight down. I don't do all this business of coming around on side and all that. I just come straight down at 90 degrees, inject and pull out. And I do a really nice clean grid, and I put as much in there as I think it can take, sort of really puff it out, because I figure it's going to leach out of there if it's too much anyway. It's going to either boil out or leach out. So I figure a cup that's overflowing is definitely full. So that would be my advice in terms of injections. Have a bit of a play. Yes, I do use brines and injections for comps. We do some brining, particularly around poultry commercially. Just helps to retain moisture. Otherwise, we don't really muck around with the concept of injecting like briskets or anything like that. And to be honest, I don't know any commercial operators that do that. I think it would just take up too much time and be too expensive. Go and have a look at the price of injections. They're pretty pricey. Anywho, so that's the answer to your question, David, around injections and why we use them. So thank you for asking that question. If anyone else has got any questions that they'd like to do, go ahead and just plug them down there in the comments. I'll have a quick squiz through there, and we'll try and include them in the next session. Like with everything I do, I like to go into a lot of depth about it. No point giving you half the story. So we'll try and cover it as much as we can. And we've got some good news. We've got a couple of interviews coming up. A couple of the guys in Australia have agreed to be interviewed. I've also got a couple of the guys in New Zealand that I'm trying to lock in time. Obviously, it's a big commitment right now because everybody's so busy at work, particularly around the public holidays. But stay tuned, because we will be having more interviews coming up. Otherwise, hit like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll see you at the next episode. Peace out.